Hello and welcome to another episode of A Walk in My Shoes. This is Dan Vasquez, and today we are so excited. We have Terri Dusseau, which is an expert in graphic design, and she has also been a business owner. Terri, welcome so much to A Walk in My Shoes.
Oh, Dan, thank you so much. I am so excited to be here and share my experience. I have had a wonderful career path, and I'm so excited to be able to share it with you today.
Well, we're so excited about listening and hearing to your story. We were talking before we went on air about how much you enjoyed it, and you can tell that you're passionate about it.
I definitely am passionate about it. I've earned my living as an artist, and it just has been great fun. A lot of hard work, but fun along the way.
Well, let's get right in it, and let's hear your story. How did it all begin? When did you knew this is what you wanted to do?
Well, it's interesting because I loved art from kindergarten. So all my life I pursued, the artistic challenges and classwork. In middle school, I loved doing art, and then on to high school. I had a wonderful opportunity in high school. I not only took fine art classes, but I took crafts classes, and we're talking about cloisonne and ceramics and leatherwork and jewelry making. So I knew that I wanted to follow my passion in art somehow and look to find a career. So I went to the Ohio State University and I started in their fine art program. And after about 2 quarters, we were back at quarters then, I actually thought, fine art might not be the career path that I want. I had a painting class where I had a professor who was unkind to me, and I happened to find out about the industrial design program. And I learned that you can be a product designer, a visual communication designer, or an interior space designer. So I signed up and went and took my very first course and learned about these 3 disciplines, and I decided to go into product design. So I majored in product design, stayed an extra quarter to get a minor in graphic design. And so it was a wonderful opportunity to use my artistic talent as a problem solver. So as a designer, you have a client that you work with who comes to you with a problem to solve. And so you use your creative talent through sketching and communicating and developing ideas and then sharing them with the client and then solving their problem. So after graduating the Ohio State University, I went to work at a sign company because my thesis was to design a sign system for Blossom Music Center in Cleveland, Ohio. So I had a wonderful opportunity to work at a sign company. At the sign company, people came to us with ideas for businesses. So say, for instance, a gentleman or a young lady might want to start a restaurant. She'd say, I want to start a restaurant, I have a name, but I don't have a logo. So as a graphic designer at the sign company, I would design the logo and then design the signs. And then my company would actually fabricate the signs. Now, I wasn't the owner of this company, but our company manufactured signs. So I met wonderful individuals who were, business leaders in the community who had great ideas for enterprises. So I learned a lot about business through that experience. So after 2.5 years, I was made vice president of the company. Wow. I was then responsible for the administration of the business as an assistant to the owner. So that was a wonderful opportunity. The owner really took me under his wings and taught me a lot about business. So I stayed there for 2.5 years, so a total of 5 years. And then I decided, I think I'd like to set out on my own. So I decided to start my own design firm. And I started a firm called Dusseau Design, started it in my Clintonville home, and owned it for 14 years. So
You made a living and a career out of this. This is amazing.
yes, I did.
So this is a great passion. You discovered what you were good at, and you've enjoyed it. Were there any bumps along the road? Like, were there any times that were difficult that you questioned your decision, or was it all easy?
Boy, that's a really good question, Dan. My first bump was at Ohio State with a painting instructor who did not like my work, but that led me to explore other options.
Wow.
Then, in my pursuit of owning my own business, I would say there were a few bumps. I had to work very closely with my staff, and I had a wonderful team of designers. And so oftentimes we were selling ideas. So we weren't giving somebody a tangible. We were selling a creative solution. And sometimes clients didn't understand why it cost so much. Even though our ideas, our concepts that we dreamt up, it still took a lot to bring the concept to fruition. So there are a lot of hours of work into solving a client's problem. So sometimes they would not understand, the cost involved. And yet, as a business owner, I had rent to pay, I had insurance to pay, utilities to pay, I had salaries to pay, I had benefits to pay. And so I had this overhead. So I had to charge enough that, not only could my staff earn a living, but I had to earn a living as well.
Yes.
So at times that was kind of a challenge.
That's a big lesson to learn.
Right.
Now, you mentioned it twice, and this is so important. You talked about finding seeing the problem and finding a solution to the problem. How do you do that?
Interesting. Well, I'd love to share this with my audience or our audience. One of the things that's so important is to get a sketchbook and sketch your ideas, because what happens is when you put it on paper with pencil, pen, or marker, just by doing that handwork, it actually sparks ideas that continue to flow. So it's really about putting your ideas on paper, which in turn spark other ideas. So one of the things we have to do as graphic designers or industrial designers, we have to be good listeners. We have to really key in on what is the problem to be solved. So when we're coming up with solutions, we have to say, are we addressing the needs of our client, who in turn, has, perhaps it's a restaurant, perhaps it's a motel chain, but they might want a brochure or a website. So we start by doing concept sketches. Then we will take those to our client and share them. And they have to have a good imagination, because at this point, it's not really a concept that's well defined. And then they give us advice. Are we going in the right direction? And fortunately, so often we had a team of good listeners. We were going in the right direction. Then we took it and developed it further. We got into production, and then something either gets sent to a printer, or it might get sent to a sign manufacturer. But it's an evolution. And one of the things that, again, I can't stress enough is the sketching and then the communicating of ideas is, a wonderful process, because then, when the client gives you input, it further enhances the project, and then you come back and you work some more and continue to develop your solution. So you do it as a collective. It's really important to, take your team, make sure everyone's listening, and the client is an integral part of our team.
Yes. So basically, the client is the one that is directing, kind of like your creativity.
Exactly.
And you have to be willing to receive strong criticism.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You have to be willing to receive the criticism. Yeah.
Wow. What are some of the things that you're most proud of in your career?
Well, I think that I was given some wonderful opportunities as a young artist, and I was able to actually design signs, that, became landmarks in the Columbus community. For instance, our company donated the Columbus Zoo sign. This was an old sign, it was when they had the, rectangular red sign at the entrance. and we had an opportunity to make this pro bono donation to the Columbus Zoo. I got to design that sign, and I got to present it to Jack Hanna and to the Board of Trustees, and he was so excited. He rushed up and gave me a kiss on the cheek. It was so sweet. So it was to I think I was so proud because I was able to create something, be a part of a charitable giving, and for a wonderful organization as the Columbus Zoo.
Do you remember how many sketches did it take to get to that emblematic sign?
Boy, that's a really good question, Dan. How many sketches? Well, as a rule of thumb, we present 3 concept sketches to our client.
Okay.
So, I worked for a couple hours, I know, in the development of my sketches. Then I refined it because actually it was my boss who said, I really like this idea. Let's refine it. Let's color it. Let's make a wonderful sketch. Let's present this idea. So, but I love to sketch.
Did you get nervous when you're presenting the idea, waiting for the reaction of the client?
Interesting question. I am usually so excited about my idea that I don't get nervous.
Oh,
yeah. I don't get too nervous. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So in this career that you have, I mean, it's been something that you really enjoyed, and like you said, you've given back to the community as well. What would be some advices to young people that say, wow, this sounds like a great thing? What can you tell them? Like, what are some of the trainings that you had at the earliest stage of your career that you can see that really helped you, that can help somebody else getting just started?
Boy, what I would recommend is start today, get a sketchbook. There are great resources out there for art materials and sketchbooks. I'm going to give Ollie's a plug because they have wonderful art supplies that are very affordable, and I would just start sketching. There are wonderful opportunities to take online courses, but start sketching. Sign up for any art classes that you can, maybe through Columbus Parks and Rec, maybe through the Columbus Museum of Art, and then build a portfolio. I think it's very important that you work towards getting a portfolio because these days, design departments are going to look at a student's body of work, and they will make a decision as to whether they will accept you into a program kind of based on your resume, your portfolio, your body of work, the experience, how have you been a pillar of your community through volunteering. Wow. So there's a lot of things that that you need to do to prepare if you want to pursue this career, because I strongly recommend going to college, to pursue the career. So, start with a sketchbook.
One of the things I love about your story is that you started in one area, but as you progress, you didn't get stuck in just one field, but you also jump into the graphic design and did different things. And there's a whole world out there in the art and marketing area. You also jumped into marketing.
Right. Well, and then I even jumped into interior design just by default. I had a client who bought a hotel. He was going to renovate it. I started with the new logo, then the signs. He said, you're creative. Will you help me with the interior design? So all of a sudden I had a new role. It was as interior designer for a wonderful hotel property. And so from there, then I started to do residential makeovers with a friend, which landed me on television. I was actually on the new news with Gail Hogan. My friend and I would go to a client's home. It would get filmed before, so you saw the existing home. And then my friend and I would do a complete makeover. The camera crew would come back, film the makeover, and then we would be live in the studio live in the studio with an anchor, Gail Hogan at the time on Channel 4, and we would talk about the process. So yes, I not only was a graphic designer, product designer, also did interior design, And now I also do public speaking, which is fun. I actually have had the privilege of creating a scholarship for young adults who want to study art. So I took a little slideshow on the road to create funding for my scholarships.
That's amazing. Now you're in a position to give back. That's incredible. Is there anywhere where people can find this information? How can they find more about you?
Well, actually, the best way is through you. I'm happy to share my email. I don't have a website, and I'm not on social media. But I'm more than happy. I can give you my email address, and people, are free to contact me direct. And I'd love to have a conversation, with anybody who's interested in this field. As I mentioned prior to us filming, it was great fun for me to do career days at middle schools. I would go and make presentations so that students in the middle school would learn about the field of design. So
another question is, as far as design, your inspiration. Where do you normally look for inspiration?
I am very curious. So I love to explore museums, nature, parks. I love to meet new people, so travel. Just had an opportunity to go to Italy and study the architecture and meet with the wonderful Italian individuals. I just am curious, so I like to explore the world at large.
If you can tell a young person that wants to go into this career, what would your advice be for someone that says, I want to become an artist?
Well, I think just kind of circling back to actually, starting to pursue art in any fashion that you can. But again, just get that sketchbook, do a couple sketches a day, just to, get you familiar, and then, branch out, learn to paint, learn to do graphic work on a tablet, pursue as many opportunities that you can with regards to developing your skills in art, just that hand-eye coordination. And I'll be the first to tell you that anyone can be taught to draw, and even though we're developing concepts as a problem solver, they're not refined at that point. They're kind of loose sketches representing our ideas, so they don't have to be refined. But then you do take it to a level, where you sketch, and that sketching may be on, a tablet, or you may use a desktop computer. So you evolve your talent however you enjoy. I think the best thing that I can say is follow your passion if you love art. And
well, and in this career, I mean, we live in such a world today where marketing is so important, where there's not going to be any lack of job, and if someone chooses to follow this career, correct, because there's always new products, especially here in the U.S., new ideas, new businesses coming up.
Dan, you're absolutely correct. The sky's the limit, and literally the chairs that and the furniture that we're sitting in, the pillows, the table. We are surrounded by things that have been designed. The materials have been chosen, the colors have been chosen, the shape has been chosen. So, and a designer is behind all those things. So absolutely, if somebody has a love of furniture design or fashion design or automotive design, it's everywhere. Yeah, and that's what's so fun about it. And in my career, not only did I do the things that I had mentioned, the sign design, brochure design, I designed events, I designed parties, and that was a lot of fun. I actually was a wedding coordinator for a client. I did a realtor appreciation party where I brought in top name talent. So when you're creative, There's
You know,
just
you've taken your gift and you have exploited. You have used it to the max. That's amazing.
I have
That's a
used
good
it to
life.
the max. Yeah, it has been a wonderful life. I'm very, very blessed.
And I'm excited because you also brought a copy or you brought a painting that you made.
I did bring
Could
a
you please
painting.
let us see it?
Yes, I'm happy to. So,
Wow.
so this is my grandpuppy Ralph.
Oh my goodness.
Lauren and Austin. Lauren is my daughter, and her husband Austin own this little puppy. And one of the things that I love to do is I love to paint. And so this was just a fun project. I happened to take a photograph of Ralph as a very young puppy, and I painted this and then added a fun background. So right now, art is my passion. So I not only do painting, but I do a mixed media, abstract art. So this year I was fortunate enough to have an art exhibition of my work. So, but anyway, so I just brought this so your audience could see some of the type of
It's
work that I
awesome. I
do.
love
So thank
It's
you, thank you.
inspiring. Well, Terry, thank you so much. This is fantastic. We've learned so much. I wish we could continue talking more because there is so much to this. But we really, really appreciate you taking the time and tell us a little bit about your life and your career.
Well, Dan, it's been an honor and a pleasure. And as I mentioned, I'm so happy to share my career path with anyone who has a question about, this. And I'm happy to give, more personal direction, so I look forward to future opportunities. And thank you so much for inviting me. And
Oh, Terry, we're honored to have you.
thank you.
You again. And for everyone watching, thank you so much for your time. We're looking forward to seeing you again next Wednesday for another episode of A Walk in My Shoes. Have a wonderful day.